Om Masato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritangamaya Aviravirmayedhi Rudrajatte Dakshinam Mukham Tenamang Pahi Nittam Tenamang Pahi Nittam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Manifest thyself in and through us, and protect us evermore with thy kind and auspicious presence. May we hear through our ears what is good and spiritual. May we see through eyes what is noble and uplifting. May we go beyond darkness and illusion and realize the truth in this life. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Peace be unto us. Peace be unto all mankind. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Tat Sat. There are two traditions in the world. One is called the biblical tradition, and another is called this Vedic tradition. In biblical tradition, the goal of life is resurrection. Wages of sin is death. And how we can redeem that death through a Redeemer. Therefore, Christ is the Redeemer. And one who believes in Christ will be saved after death. But in the Vedic tradition, death and resurrection both will come under aparavidya, lower knowledge. In the Vedic tradition, Jivan Mukti is the goal of life. That you are to attain freedom in this life with this body by realizing your real self and discarding your attachment to the apparent self. It is the apparent self that belongs to the world of time. Because it is it is a creature. It needs a creator. But that an individual soul thinks himself to be a creature is due to avidya. And if avidya or ignorance can be liquidated and illumination can be gained, then the individual soul will realize its innate divinity, its natural immortality, and its intrinsic universality. In order to gain that, renunciation is a must. Because the world that we experience through our senses and interpret to the mind is constantly changing. In the language of Buddha, we are the world that we perceive is in a constant flux. Scientific thinkers of the West also think that way. There is perpetual change, perpetual transformation. That in order to gain immortality, or realize immortality, we must transcend the 5 levels of consciousness. And these 5 levels of consciousness are known in the Taittiriya Upanishad as 5 sheaths. The first sheath is called the physical sheath. When food becomes very important, called anna, sheath of anna. Food, where can I get good food? Where can I get good food? You see, you are searching for good food. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you get good food? You go to a good restaurant, a prime rib restaurant. prime rib. But if you are a vegetarian, then you do not care for prime rib. You will care for mushroom burger. So anyway, this is called anna. Anna means food. This gross body. But there is also subtle body. Subtle body is constituted of sense organs, mind, intellect, and the impressions that we get through our intellectual pursuits in life. That is called pranamaya. Prana means sense organs. We want to see, we want to hear, we want to touch. You see, 5 sense organs of perception. You see, also 5 sense organs of action. But mind is the leader. So anyway, in other words, you have to, as it were, you are making a pilgrimage from gross to the subtle, subtle to the subtler, and ultimately you have to reach the subtlest. Because anything that is gross belongs to the category of object. Anything that is called subtle belongs to the category of subject, subject-object. You are always trying to make a distinction. The object depends upon the subject. Now, you have to find the subject, which is the subtlest subject. So you find in the called Shukshma Sharira, when you advance spiritually, then you have to think that sense organs belong to the category of subtle body. Then subtler and higher and more pervasive will be the mind, because it is the mind that directs our senses, you see. But subtler than the mind is intellect. Mind has the recording faculty, but decisive faculty of determination or decision comes from the intellect. It is the intellect that has 2 powers. It creates judgment, it also creates values. Judgment in the form it is right, it is wrong. I am in the right, and the right path. You see. It's the intellect that says. And also, intellect when it is purified, then it thinks in terms of values. Sensate values will be superseded by moral values, because moral values will lead the individual to freedom. Sensate values will lead the individual to slavery. Therefore, freedom to the senses is not freedom. When intelligent or discriminated intellect dominates the style of life, then an individual thinks in terms of building of one's own character. And in order to build one's character, one has to think in terms of moral values, righteous living. He has to cultivate what we call the virtues, the cardinal virtues of life. Truthfulness, you see, purity, and love, compassion, you see. So therefore, Holy Mother, take for example, Pavitram Charitam Desha, noble hast thou a character, pure is thy life divine, ever bow to thee, O Mother, thou incarnate, purifying. She was the very embodiment of purity. So also Christ, the embodiment purity. They did not talk about purity, lived purity, in thought, word and deed. The mind was free from the blemishes and taints which come from the attachment to material things of life. And that is why Christ says, ye cannot serve 2 masters, God and mammon. Birds have nests, foxes have holes, but the Son of Man hath nowhere to lay his head. So renunciation will lead to immortality. But if you accept, called the pravitti marga or the bhoga marga, through experience of many lives, one day you'll be awakened. What I have done, what I have gained. I want to go home. In the Bible it is called prodigal. Prodigal returns. Prodigal returns. when all his resources are exhausted. The prodigal, I must go back to my father. The whole world has rejected me. My only hope whether my father will accept me. Although it is a kind of metaphorical way, that means he is not moving towards periphery. He is not moving towards evolution. When it moves towards evolution or periphery, birth, death and rebirth, is called wheel of samsara. He is moving towards the center. Center of the heart. In the center of the heart, God dwells. But on account of the veil of Maya, man does not recognize the presence of God. Just like, you see, sun is always shining, but we do not see the face of the sun on account of clouds. And what is that? Greatest obstacle of man is called vasana, desire. Desire can never be fulfilled by enjoyment. It increases. Just like if you put fuel into the fire or butter into the fire to extinguish fire, you are doing something which is impossible. In order to extinguish the fire, you put no fuel. And the fuel stands for desire. Avidya, karma, karma. From ignorance, we want to perpetuate our apparent self, and we desire many things in the world, and we accomplish, but desire never fulfilled. Seeds of desire remain, and new birth takes place. But never fulfillment will come through fulfillment of desires. Only through renunciation of desire, man or woman will recognize his eternal spirit, which is birthless, which is deathless, which is undecaying, which is immortal. So the central message of all the Upanishads, including this called the Taittiriya Upanishad, is immortality. It is not resurrection. There is a world of discernment before resurrection and immortality. In resurrection, you will have a new body. You will have to go a sorrowless land. Call it paradise or heaven or Swarga. But anything that is an effect of a cause cannot be eternal. And so if one goes to heaven, he will have to come back into this world. This is karma bhumi. Here you can attain it called immortality. You can attain enlightenment. You can attain called illumination. So nirvana of the Buddhists and jivan mukti of Shankaracharya will mean the same thing. So you can think of also that 5 levels of consciousness. They are called physical level, then sensate level, then emotional level, intellectual level, and the ethical level, as well as religious level, when you try to think of God. So Anandamaya Kosha, there is a difference between Shankara and Ramanuja. According to Ramanuja, Anandamaya Kosha is the highest level, when you enter into communion with God. But Shankara, following the teachings of the Upanishads, Dvaitad Bhayam Bhavati, sense of duality will create fear. If there is a slightest difference between you and your God, fear will never depart from your heart. In order to liquidate fear, there should be oneness. There should be supreme identity between the individual soul and the universal soul. Therefore, dualistic religion of the West will not accept Shankara's Mayavada or Gaurapada's Ajatapada or Nagarjuna's Shunyavada. They all imply identification with Nirguna Brahman. Pratyagatman and Paramatman are absolutely identical in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So Anandamaya Kosha, when Ramanuja talks about Ananda was highest, it will be Savikalpa Samadhi. That means I belong to God. I am the wave and God is the ocean. Or I am a spark and God is the fire. God is the fire. Or I am a ray, God is the sun. So as long as there is a distinction between creature and creator, or distinction between part and whole, you can never think of immortality. And now Shankara will come. Well, you are talking of infinite spirit and you are talking of parts. How can infinite spirit have any parts? Parts belong only to compounded things. Infinite spirit is uncompounded reality. If it is uncompounded reality, not only it is partless, it is also changeless. But West has accepted Aristotle, unmoved mover. If anything that moves must belong to the category of finitude, anything that is changeless must also be infinite and no possibility of change. And that is the reason why even if you have worshipped personal God and have attained, called Savikalpa Samadhi, you will not be a Jivan Mukta. In order to attain Jivan Mukti, you have to realize also the impersonal aspect of God, or identification with Nirguna Brahman. You see. So this Upanishad is talking about Jato Bhaja Nivartante Aprappa Manasasha. What is Samadhi? Samadhi is that which cannot be expressed in language, but it can be experienced in your own heart. When you have reached the transcendental consciousness, where there is no time, where there is no duality, where there is no subject-object difference, where there is no law of causation operating to make your life miserable. It is on account of the law of karma. Your life is not what it should be. Unless you exhaust all your karmas, you cannot stop the process of reincarnation or process of rebirth. The evil of samsara or wheel of karma is bound to operate to all persons who are attached to the apparent self. But when a person has reached the transcendental state of consciousness, which is timeless as well as causeless, law of karma has no impact to that illumined soul who thinks himself or herself as Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, as eternal, as pure, as enlightened, and as free. So in order to attain freedom of the spirit, one should practice renunciation, practice also meditation, according to the instruction of a competent teacher, and also reach a state of consciousness which is known among the Christian mystics called beatific vision, and among the Buddhists called nirvana, and among the Vedantists called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. This picture of Sri Ramakrishna, which you see here, Sri Ramakrishna never identified himself with his body or mind, or the Karana Sharira is called the ego, apparent self, Chijjara Granthi, the knot between spirit and matter, that I consciousness. I am separate from God, I am separate from you, I am separate from the rest of the universe. And that is the reason why Sri Ramakrishna has a saying, Ami mole guchibe jonjal. All troubles will cease when this fictitious I disappears from the scene. This fictitious I is real. Why? Because it is, you have created its reality being in the state of dream. As long as dream lasts, ego is bound to control your destiny. But someday, on account of good karma, or through the grace of an illumined soul, the individual soul will wake up from this dream and march inward, not outward, to find the truth which will make him free. And that this Upanishad is talking jato bhaja nivartante aprappa manusasha. There is a state of consciousness which is beyond thought, beyond speech, beyond expression, beyond communication. Why? Because you can communicate when in the empirical plane or the relative plane. Suppose I am talking, I need a listener. I cannot talk to the walls, you see. So there will always remain in communication, there will always remain a distinction between subject and object. There will also remain a distinction between I and you. So in an empirical level, dualism is bound to take place. And therefore you have to transcend this empirical level or the relative level of consciousness, where consciousness is divisive. Consciousness creates a distinction between subject and object. Consciousness also brings time, space and causation. Intellectual plane of consciousness is bound to bring an object in space, an event in time, and a certain amount of relationship between the antecedent cause and the consequent effect. But in the transcendental level, therefore Vedanta stands for transcendental experience. But you cannot reach transcendental experience without purifying your subconscious mind and having absolute control over your conscious mind, and also through concentration and meditation you open the door to the transcendental level of consciousness, where time stops, causation becomes an image of the dream, an individual soul attains its innate, natural and essential perfection. So here you are talking about man in essence, not man in appearance. Man in appearance is deceptive. Man in essence is divine. And so we have to create a new world where man in essence will sing glory. A man in essence will roar in the language of the Upanishads. Man in essence will roar like a lion and not bleat like a lamb. So roar, but not to imitate lion completely. Then man will have to put on a mask. I gave you an example. You see, Shamattam is the goal of life. Shamattam means that oneness of existence. So a man or woman should transcend manhood or womanhood and realize his infinitude. Behind the appearance of name and form, the essential nature of man is the ocean, Satchidananda. You see. So this now, during the days of called empirical knowledge, or during the days of ignorance, man always identifies himself or herself with nama rupa, name and form, or called the apparent self. Apparent self becomes very strong. Now the apparent self must depart, renounce. So you have to renounce the apparent self and realize your true self. Nirvana may be interpreted that you liquidate the apparent self, blowing out. But that will not solve the problem. Simply, if you say, my apparent self has given me trouble, so I give goodbye to apparent self. So problem will not be solved. Problem will be solved when you realize your true self. Apparent self has given you trouble because because your mind was weak. When your mind becomes strong, you will identify yourself with the real self. And what is the nature of the real self? The nature of the real self is anadittat nirgunattat paramatmaya abhaya. It is anadi, it is beginningless. Beginningless means it is causeless. Anadit nirguna, it has no quality. Means it is quality that finitizes the infinite spirit. You see. It's when you make this distinction between one man and another man, there is a white man or a dark man or a man or a woman. This is on account of the other account of what you call the external form or name. But in essence, there is no distinction between Eastern man or Western man, or distinction between man or woman, or distinction between Republican and Democrat. So distinguished experience, which is known as oneness, that can be possible only when man will realize his or her true nature to be infinite spirit. That finitization of the infinite spirit is taking place on account of ignorance, on account of desire to perpetuate his finite or her finite self. So this Panchakosha method, if you think, then you must transcend even this dual experience of I and my God to be distinct and separate. When you transcend this distinction between I and my Father, not separate, not distinct, but one. Similarly, Ramakrishna, when he attained it because I and my mother are one, he could withdraw his mind from all sense objects, but he could not mind from the personal aspect of God whom he adored and worshipped as my mother, my beloved mother. Now the concept of mother is a very beautiful concept. The concept of mother is a symbol of eternal virginhood. Second symbol is the concept of mother is the symbol of Chit Shakti or Brahma Shakti. It is the power of Brahman to create, preserve and destroy the universe. And this concept of mother also brings a synthesis between personal God and impersonal God. The West has accepted the fatherhood of God. Fatherhood of God is always connected with personal God and also called monotheism, theism, theistic interpretation of life. What is that? Creature must be distinct from creator. Creature and creator can never be identical. Creature is finite, creator is infinite. And also creature needs the grace of the creator in order to attain salvation. Creature can never attain salvation by his own individual effort. And then St. Augustine has used another word called predestination. He rejected the law of karma. He accepted predestination and grace. That means man has no power, ability or strength. He has to depend completely on the Almighty God, who is the Redeemer and who is the giver of salvation. But original sin, another idea, it is not a gospel. Bible is called a gospel. But this, my talk should not be given to conservative Christians. This is the one thing, my talk should not be given to them. Only to the devotees who are real Vedantists, not superficial Vedantists even. So I do not want to speak to people who are thinking in terms of their religion is the highest and they have known everything. My speech is to create thought and try to understand what the Advaita philosophy means. personally to the individual who listens to my talk. And talk is nothing. It is transformation of life, edification of character, and spiritual attainment of the infinite beauty, infinite strength, and infinite glory which is hidden behind the psychophysical being of every individual, irrespective of creed, color, nationality, or race. So this idea of immortality, when you use the word immortality, you have to understand what immortality means. In order to understand immortality, you have to understand mortality. Immortality means non-mortality. That means that means one has to realize, I am immortal. This is a personal experience. Hearing that, one will never become immortal. In order to become immortal, one has to experience it. And in order to experience this, one has to perform sadhana. It will not drop from heaven, nor it will come to any satellite from outer space. So this immortality, when they are the idea, it means it is an experience of the rishis who spent their whole life to reach that. They did not turn the mind towards the fleeting pleasures of this material, mundane, and illusory world. And these rishis never thought of star war, never thought of hydrogen bomb, never thought of splitting the atom and release the energy for the destruction of mankind. They thought only one thing: how human beings will find peace, how human beings will find freedom, how human beings act like human beings, being inspired by the divine spirit which is behind every individual. So therefore, you find this Upanishad is talking that a rishi of this Upanishad, he attained that exalted state of consciousness. But here the word expression is there called habu, habu, habu. You see, what is habu? Habu means it is the translator. He cannot do any other way. Hello, hello, hello. Habu means hello, hello, hello. What does it mean? Simply, one person he experienced it, and he found a listener. He found a listener after that, and he was little asleep. He's listening to the high philosophy, went into sleep. So he was, to wake him up, he was talking, hello, hello. So these words woke him up. But Upanishad does not say what is, only says that the habu, habu. No. It was silent. He was silent, but silent was more eloquent than his speech. He did not want to convey it. He was only giving only a suggestion. Highest truth cannot be conveyed, you see. You can convey something which is relative truth, which is finite, which is limited. So hello, 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 it means aham brahmasmi. I have realized that my real nature is eternal. My true self is infinite, and my true being is deathless. See, you find both Christianity as well as Vedanta is tackling the great problem of death. But solution of Christianity is that conquested death will come only from a Redeemer. That you have to accept Christ, because He died for the sins of mankind. But not the Eastern way. Eastern way, before the doctrine of avatar came into existence, that there was this called Tattvamasi. So when avatar comes, he has to reinforce that. Whether called Krishna as an avatar in Bhagavad Gita or any other avatar that will come, he wants to tell Advaita Gayana Achole Vede Jai Chatai Kar. You can do whatever you like, but be always endowed to the knowledge of your innate immortality and your spontaneous divinity, which is the property of your real self. You don't have to beg or borrow. Only you have to experience it by removing the obstacle of ignorance. So here, when you are thinking of this idea of immortality, some people will say, oh, immortality is very similar to called reincarnation. Immortality and reincarnation do not go together. Incarnation takes place on account of our identification with the apparent self. And the reason is the karma or vasana, desire. It is unfulfilled desire that brings any human being into this world. Therefore, don't blame Adam and Eve. You are responsible. And also, this is not your first birth and will be the last birth. You came here before. I do not know whether you came to America or born in another country. That I do not know. But many births have taken place. But to stop this birth, you have to be illumined. As long as cling to the ego, a new birth is bound to take place. If there is a seed, the tree will be there. Now, roast the seed or burn the seed into ashes. Then no sprouting will be possible. So that is the Jnanagni Sarvakarmani Bhasmashat Kurute Arjuna. Ignite the fire of knowledge, Atmajnana. Here they not the knowledge that I belong to God or God will give me salvation. The Atmajnana here means my real self and the real self of God are identical. Because in manifestation there will be difference. Clay mouse can never become white clay elephant. Clay elephant stands for Mayadhish. God is the controller of Maya. But individual soul is controlled by Maya. You see, when man takes birth on account of karma, when God takes birth not on account of karma, by controlling time, space and causation. Although he takes a human form, but he is always conscious of his uncreated essence. But human being, by following the example of God, when he takes a human form, will also realize his true nature to be divine, to be immortal, to be universal, to be timeless, and also to be deathless. So death can be conquered only through the knowledge of the real self, which is uncreated essence, and which has no connection with birth, death, or rebirth, or going to heaven. So we find in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyavaniva Jatuiva, Shankara, when he is interpreting Krishna avatar, in the Upanishad you do not find the doctrine of avatar. They are the Shruti age, the age of Shruti. But this age of, call it Advaita, Jnana. But in the age of Smriti, then the avatar, the doctrine of avatar takes place, especially in Bhagavad Gita. The Krishna is the avatar. Krishna, he says, Ajopishan Abhyatma Bhutanam Ishwaripisham Prakritingsham Avastabha Shambhavami Atmamaya. Ajopi, although I am unborn. In other words, when avatar takes from, he knows this is unborn. But Christian faith will not accept. Christian faith, birth of Christ is real. Death of Christ is real. No. Christ is always conscious of his uncreated essence. If you accept birth, you will have to accept death. And if you accept birth and death, there will be no difference between an Ajnani and a Jnani. A Jnani accepts death to be, Ajnani accepts death to be real on account of ignorance. But a Jnani never accepts death to be real, immortality to be real, deathlessness to be real, birthlessness to be real. So Ajo Vishwan, the doctrine of avatar, when you think Ajo, unborn, Abhyatma, indestructible self. Bhutanam Ishwari Vishwam, that it means he is the inner ruler immortal sitting in the heart, or Antarjami. It is the personal aspect of God. Prakriting samavasthabhya, by controlling prakriti, controlling time, you see, because God, whatever takes a human form, he is timeless, but he enters into time. But not like a human being, on account of karma, on account of say, compassion, on account of his compassion. I will take human form so that those people who will follow my shining example will attain liberation. To set an example, or to become a teacher, or to become a great benefactor. So this idea of theism, that is what West has accepted theism, you see. But theism will not be acceptable by science. The greatest opponent of religion is science. Science will accept principle, not God as a personal being, you see. And also you find when the scientists are talking about whether it is a particle or a vibration, exactly what the Maya theory of Shankara, whether it is Shat or Ashat. Shat, world is Shat, all is real to all of Gyanis. World is unreal to all Gyanis. Those are illumined souls. But how this one has become the many, or the infinite has become the finite universe, that cannot be solved by intellect. Because intellect has not the power. Intellect is unconscious. The conscious intellect is due to the intelligence given by the Atman. You see. Why intellect is unconscious? Because intellect is changeful. Mind is changeful, intellect is changeful. And so when you say, I know, or I think, your knowledge or your thinking, because it is on account of the function of the mind, you can know only the appearance. You cannot know the reality. But when you transcend mind or intellect, you find there is oneness. Behind the essence of the universe, which is called Brahman, and behind the essence of the psychophysical being man, which is called the Atman. Therefore, first you have to understand mind is not conscious by its own power. Mind is conscious on account of the power borrowed from the real self. Just mind is like the moon. Moon shines by borrowed light. But sun does not shine by the borrowed light. But even when you talk of the sun is unconscious. It is only a metaphorical way of talking. As sun gives light on account of intrinsic power, similarly the Atman is ever conscious, never unconscious. Now you may say, Atman, how can you say Atman exists at the time of a deep sleep? You find in Gaurapada's Manduka Karika, the subject of the difference is created by the mind. And therefore in the waking state as well as in the dream state, the subject of the difference is there because mind is connected to the nervous system. But in deep sleep, mind has no connection to the nervous system, and therefore the subject of the difference disappears. But in deep sleep we become unconscious. But the consciousness of the seer, consciousness of the knower, always remains the same. Because as it is the property of the fire to burn, similarly the property of the Atman is to know, not by the function of the mind, by its own intrinsic property, which is invariable in characteristic of the entity or the substance in its true nature. So this is the reason why this Upanishad is giving a tremendous hope that you are asleep. When you say I am lonely, or you say that I am lost, these are words of a person who has not struggled to give up his sleep. He is just like a person who wants to sleep while climbing a mountain, you see, because he is frostbitten. When any mountain climber is frostbitten, he wants to sleep. But the leader will not allow. He will put a hammer blow. Wake up, wake up, wake up. They will force him to move, to walk. Similarly, no force is necessary, no compulsion necessary, because in America everything is free. There should not be any compulsion in religion. But when a man has that discriminating intelligence, it is for his own good. He will have to wake up from this dream in order to realize his true nature, which is eternally beautiful and perennially joyful. Anandam Brahmana, this reminds me of Swami Turiyananda. Where I saw Swami Turiyananda, he had carbuncle. He had operation, major operation. But his face was lit with a heavenly smile. And his face reminded me of a Brahmagyani, a knower of Brahman. No identification of the body. No identification with this world of senses. Really, he was a lion of Vedanta. And so, this is the knowledge which West needs. Your science and technology can give you power, which can never give you wisdom. And this, you are talking about your Jefferson. Jefferson, who has drafted the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But Jefferson was motivated and prompted by the rationalistic philosophers of Europe. Jefferson's idea is to build an affluent society. His idea, if the society is affluent, individuals also will be religious, will be ethical. This is a wrong philosophy. Affluent society will not create an illumined soul. Moral society. And therefore, permissive society will never bring men and women of exalted character. Only disciplined society, where there is a discipline from cradle to the grave. Father and mother should practice discipline and also enforce discipline to the children. Otherwise, children, daddy, either say boy or girl, at the age of, say, 15, daddy, I have found an apartment. Goodbye. I will see you Christmas time. And also I will give you a present on your birthday. Or I give you also a card or a present. Only to get a present will the father be satisfied or mother be satisfied. Father and mother satisfied when boys and girls see the world, not the glamour of the world, see the real world, which is very terrific, which is not rosy. And you have to face this terrific world. So you must have a very heroic mind. And if you succumb to the temptations of the world, you'll be lost. So the parents should set an example. Teachers should also not say this or that. Teachers also should be the best friend of the students by setting an example. Similarly, the ministers also. What America needs today is discipline. Without discipline, real life will never come. This may be very unpleasant. I am creating unpopularity myself. So I must be watchful and I must be clever to polish my speech in such a way people will accept by talking about their glory. I will say that the glory of America is in its generosity. You see, how do you know that? Because you see, in Europe, they may listen to your lecture, they will not give anything. But in America, if they like any spiritual organization, they are very generous. What they need, individuals should think in terms of higher values of life. That is what Christ taught. If I will lift the dust, will draw all mankind unto thee. There is so much importance has been given to social context. But now impact should be on the mind and heart of the individual, so that individuals will be like Christ-like or Madonna-like. So this Upanishad will help. These teachings of the Upanishad is talking that your real nature is divine, and you can manifest that divinity if you have the strength of mind which will come from discipline and not from giving freedom to the senses, which will, as you find in the Kathopanishad, when Yama was tempting Nachiketa, that I will give you long life, I will give you wealth, I will give you honor, I will give beautiful damsels. What Nachiketa says, Tabaiva Vaha Tavanistagite. Well, Yama, let dancing, singing, merrymaking be yours. As long as you are there, no person can find any kind of security. Therefore, I am a passionate lover of truth. Don't tempt me with things in which I am not interested. Samanaska sadashuchi. One is alert, one is always conscious of one's ideal, and also lives a pure life. One does not want to make a compromise. Then Yama, there is the path of happiness and this is the path of perfection. Choose. If you choose the path of perfection, you have to do hard struggle. You have to scorn delight and live laborious days, and leave no stone unturned until you have reached the goal of everlasting joy, unbounded freedom, and unceasing happiness. So you find this is the reason why Swami Vivekananda came to this America, and he did not say anything which Christ did not say. He is only, I can say, reinterpreter of Christ's message through his personal experience and through the blessing of his teacher, who was not only illumined, but who was God himself in human form. So here, this The message of the Upanishad is the message of hope, message of strength, message of fearlessness. Because Anandam Brahmano Vidwan na viveti kutaschana. One who has realized Brahmajnana, that I and Brahman are identical, he is not afraid. He is not afraid of death. Now Shankara is talking. This has been in the Manomaya Kosha. This verse comes. It is there is one verse is Kutoschana from anywhere. There, as it were, the effect has been taken away, but cause has not been taken away. Here the cause also has been taken away. You see, Kutoschana. The word Kutoschana from any source. And they are kodachana at any time. At any time. That means you are not pointed out the cause. Now, when you point out the cause, then you find your identification of your personal self has been eliminated. And identification of the real self has been established. And that is the reason why this Upanishad, like a mother, teaching her children that wake up from this dream of life and realize the truth which will make you free. You see, so this is, but a guru plays a very important part. You see, yeah, the Atma. Who is a guru? Sotriya, Abhijina, Akamhata, Brahmavittama. Guru is a state of power. He is not a person. Although he must be a human being, but who has controlled his own mind and attained self-mastery. And through self-mastery he attains self-realization. And in self-realization he can impart to others by asking his followers to follow the method and realize in their own lives, in their own experiences. You see. And so here the Anandam, the word is Amrita, and also another word is Ananda. Ananda, that usually when you find the Amrita word, that we find it also in Vedanta Upanishad. Jagabalka is talking Maitri, you see, that nabittena tarpanya manusha, that through wealth you can never attain immortality. Immortality can be attained only by coming in contact with the Guru and hear from him, reflect on the truth, follow the method and realize it in your own life. There is Amrita is there. But this Upanishad especially is Ananda. Ananda, there is Vishwananda. Vishwananda comes from sense objects. But Brahmananda comes from within. The kingdom of heaven is within that Christ, it is Brahmananda. That is the reason why a man who has attained the Brahmananda, he is really a Guru, Sadguru. Brahmanandam Paramashukadam. That is the highest bliss. This Vishwananda is a finite bliss for a short time. First sight comes and goes. It has not called the power to change the life of the individual. But to change of the life of the individual comes from the contact of an illumined Guru who teaches the method. And he is also very strict. He will not bring down the method to suit the purpose of the student, but always make the students ready for it. So Brahmanandam, this you find in the Gita, Guru Gita. I mean that is in the Tantra Shastra. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam. Kevalam. Kevalam means he has no attachment to the world of Maya, to the world of sense objects of the world. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurti. He is, as it were, the very embodiment of Jnana. Here Jnana means Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana. Jnanamurti. Dandvatitam. Danda, he has pairs of opposite. He has transcended the pairs of pleasure and pain, life and death, happiness and sorrow. It is beyond time. In time, there will be this pairs of opposite. In time, happiness and sorrow, pleasure and pain, life and death. But if you go beyond, there is the ocean of infinite calmness and transcendental bliss. So, Brahmanandam, Paramashugadam, Kevalam, Jnanamurti, Dandatitam, Gagana Sadrisham. The comparison like Gagana. Gagana means the sky. The sky. As sky is all pervading existence. Similarly, one who has realized Brahman, he also has become conscious of his true nature to be infinite and not finite, to be eternal and not temporal. So, Gagana Sadisham, Tattvamashyadi Laksham. We speak Tattvamasya, but he has experienced it. He is, as it were, the Advaita Jnana. He has realized in the depth of his consciousness. He is, as it were, an incarnation of Advaita Jnana. Jnanamurti. Dandvatitam, Tigurahitam, Tattvamasya. Ekam Nityam. Ekam is one without a second. And it is eternal. That Jnana, anybody who wants to be Jnani, he must realize his true nature to be eternal truth, eternal existence, eternal knowledge. Dandvatitam, Gaganasadisham, Tattvamasya. Ekam Nityam, Bimalam Achalam. Bimalam means absolutely pure. Achala means changeless. Bimalam Achalam. Sarvadhi Shakshi Bhutam. Sarvadhi, it is Atman, is the witness consciousness. That you have to make a distinction between Vritti Chaitanya and Sarupa Chaitanya. Vritti Chaitanya comes from the function of the mind, you see. It means constantly changing. One thought, then another thought, then another thought. It is Shakshi, the background consciousness. It is called the unchanging and unchangeable principle of consciousness, which is pure, which is eternal, which is changeless. Sarvadhi Shakshi Bhutam. Before the function of the mind, every person has this called the Shakshi Chaitanya. Atman is called Shakshi Chaitanya. It is the witness consciousness of all the changing moods of the mind. Therefore he is detached. Sarvadhi Bhavatitam. He has gone beyond all moods which are changeful. Bhava Tignarohitam, he has gone beyond the three gunas. This world of manifestation is governed by the three gunas. But when one can go beyond the three gunas, one becomes a Brahmajnani, nor a Brahman. Realize Atman and Brahman are identical, and I am that. Therefore, Trigunatita. The name is Trigunatita. The Swami who was in San Francisco is Trigunatita. That means the Brahmajnani. There is no other Brahman. There was one Solute. He came when I was in Tribuco. He came to Tribuco monastery. He said, Swami, I want to take the boys. All. I said, where are you going to take? Laguna Beach. All right, Laguna. We came Laguna. We saw Rose Garden. Rose Garden. I was there. Then he said, Swami, this is Laguna. This is the fourth guna. He said, fourth guna. I said, fourth guna. No, it is Shankaracharya who talks about guna. If you say fourth guna, then the Kopila, the Shankaracharya, will not accept your words. If anything is fourth or ulterior, it is Trigunatita. There cannot be fourth guna. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, these are three gunas. All compounded things possess the it is mind because belongs to Prakriti. Mind can have three gunas. Mind can be say Sattva guna or Raja guna or Tama guna. But when you talk about the fourth, he says the fourth guna, fourth is gunatita. No guna at all. Because if there is a guna, that it is bound to change. And no guna, fourth guna, you cannot say by transcending three gunas I come to fourth guna. It will not be. All gunas, in every compounded thing, there is some element of this guna or that guna. All the three gunas that are mixed together. When you call a person is very sattik, that means his mind is very pure. But it is not real purity. Real purity when it transcends mind. Atman alone can be really pure. Mind cannot, because mind only reflects the reality. And mind being a compounded thing, mind shines by borrowed light. Consciousness is not the natural characteristic of the mind. But when Sri Ramakrishna used to say, when mind becomes pure, pure mind and pure self are identical, there he meant that pure mind first reflects the pure consciousness, afterwards pure mind marches, like a river marches into the ocean. Similarly, when a person is illumined, then he has to realize his true self, his true nature, his true being to be infinite. Infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. And this, on account of self-hypnotization, we are identifying ourselves with our psychophysical being. The great teacher comes to dehypnotize. Just like you see, the story is of a Shankara speaks about it. A prince who was sent to live with the hunter in the forest for some reason. For some, probably astrologer came that if he lives in the palace, he will live only for 12 years. But if he lives in the forest, he will live 60 years, 70 years or something. So the king believed in astrology and sent him to it. Then the king died. Then his best friend, you see, when the king died, he went to the forest. Here is the guru. The guru is the best friend. And so he went to the forest. He lived by hunting. And so you are not a hunter. Your father sent you for some reason. At first he did not believe. Then showed the picture of his father and his own picture. There was some kind of similarity. Then he accepted. Then he brought back to the palace. But the subjects did not accept first. But he was a very intelligent person. Slowly and gradually, he was so kind and compassionate. They accepted him. Similarly, the guru is like that. You see, tells us what we have forgotten. And through association with the guru and following his method, we discover our true heritage, which is not the heritage from the world, but heritage from God. And that is this Upanishad is saying, that heritage from God, when one realizes, he becomes filled with bliss. And the aroma of love, he scatters all over the world. And his presence is a blessing to mankind. And Sri Ramakrishna is that compassionate guru who has come to awaken our consciousness and to help us, to inspire us and lead us towards the goal of immortality, towards the goal of perfection, towards the goal of infinite love and unbounded wisdom. Thank you. Now, Holy Mother's house people should bring refreshments. I mean those residents already marked. They are marked. And now refreshments will come. All partake of the refreshments. Because some Hindu devotees came, he prepared something called halwa. It's a halwa. Then there will be cake and other things. Now, if any of you have a question, I shall be glad to answer. So Mr. Bush can take the prasad, the refreshment, and then go. Yeah. So David?
Swami, is Savikalpa Samadhi beyond time, or just Nirvikalpa Samadhi?
Savikalpa is concentration of mind, concentration. The Savikalpa, not this absolute timeless is nirvikalpa. Yeah. But this consciousness that you can say maybe reflection of eternal, because there is mind remains there. In Savikalpa Samadhi, mind, if there is mind, it is reflection of eternal time. It is not actual timelessness. Actual timeless only Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because in Savikalpa, ego is there, ego. But this time, what you call time, that does not create any bondage. You see, in Savikalpa Samadhi, they say they go to Brahma Loka. The Brahma Loka is in time, in time Brahma Loka, but not the samsara. Time in the form of samsara, that is not the thing. Time, if you say birth, death and rebirth, not that kind of time. It is, have to go, individual soul goes to, called Brahma Loka, to the realm of personal God. From there he attains, called Nirvikalpa or Jivan Mukti. So timeless, according to the Shankara, timeless when ego disappears, only Atman. But in Savikalpa Samadhi, the consciousness of pure ego that I belong to God, belong to. But time in the ordinary sense that creates samsara on account of avidya, that samsara nivritti. In that sense you can say he goes beyond time. But beyond time in the sense he will not come back into this world. It's called Brahma Mukti. It is called Brahma Mukti, gradual. You go to Brahma Loka, he will Shamippa, he will be very close to God. And he will love meditation and service of God. Then he will attain called identification with Brahman. So time, if you say time, consciousness of time comes on account of identification with the ego. But his ego has become pure. A pure ego does not bind because he loves God, that I am related to God. I love God more than anything else in the world. So these are called only philosophical distinction. But when he has experienced God in his called personal aspect, through the grace of God, he will also experience God in his impersonal aspect. And only when he experiences God in an impersonal aspect, then it is called timeless realization. There, his consciousness will be that the consciousness will be always my real nature is eternal existence, undivided bliss, and immortal life. So this is subtle distinction, but Ramanuja will think that if, again, Ramanuja will think one who has Savikalpa Samadhi or experience of God in his personal aspect, he will be with God always. He will say that it is a timeless realization, a timeless experience. So difference of opinion will be there, but for a spiritual aspirant, this intellectual discussion is of no importance. It is very personal. If one realizes the personal aspect of God, that I belong to you, Lord, you see, and if he has no worldly desire, if he has this experience will remain firm, all other experiences of the past will be completely blotted out from his memory. Because the experience is God is so delightful, he will preserve that experience and all other experiences he will forget. So Shabikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi is this distinction is only an intellectual discussion. In mystical experience, in transcendental experience, one who has experienced Shabikalpa Samadhi to the grace of God, he will also experience Nirvikalpa. Or one who has experienced Nirvikalpa, he will also experience Shabikalpa. But why Shabikalpa and Nirvikalpa? Because it is in Shabikalpa, it is concentrated mind is there, concentration of mind is there, and Nirvikalpa, one has transcended mind, and anything that we know from the mind, it will be only reflected consciousness. So, therefore, in Patanjali, Ekagra and Niruddha. You see, what is Shabikalpa Samadhi? In the Ekagra, one point of mind. He has forgotten everything that belongs to the world of multiplicity. Only God conscious, God conscious. But still he is connected with the mind, you see. But in a Niruddha state, even the wave of the mind has disappeared. And then, if the wave of this, what happens? That I and my father are one, or I and my mother are one. There is no distinction between I and my God, or as father or mother. That is the Niruddha state. Patanjali called it Niruddha state. It is a transcendental state. But this Ekagra state, there is Shabikalpa or Sampragata. I consciousness is there. I consciousness is not connected with the world. I consciousness is connected with God. So what is
Did Sri Ramakrishna, sometimes in the gospel it says he would say things in ecstasy. Was that in Savikalpa Samadhi? Would he talk in that state then, or would that be in a lower state that he would have to talk from?
Well, ecstasy is translation of Shabikalpa. Shabikalpa. Sometimes called Bhava Samadhi. But Shabikalpa in ecstasy, one is conscious. One is conscious of the personal aspect of God. Identification of the personal aspect of God is Shabikalpa. In other words, one who identifies, the avatar identifies himself with, called the Antarjami. There's a Antarjami and also called Nirguna Brahman. When you say Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one identifies with Nirguna Brahman. That means Nirguna aspect of God. In Shabikalpa Samadhi, avatar identifies himself with Shaguna aspect of God. What is Shaguna aspect? Shaguna aspect means that he is Antarjami. Antarjami means that he is the operator of the machine of this universe. The world is like a machine, he is the operator, he is the conscious. But it is the dynamic aspect of Brahman. Shaguna aspect or Shabikalpa, one is related to the dynamic aspect of Brahman. Shaguna, with qualities. Yeah. Or called in in Upanishadic language, it will be called the source of creation. You see, not Prakriti, but Shaguna Brahma. You see, Prakriti is unconscious, but Brahman connected with Shakti or Maya. So sometimes Sri Ramakrishna will identify avatar. Avatar remains in three levels of consciousness: human level, divine level, and transcendental level. In human level, he is the guru, just like a man. He is a man. I want to see him. I want to talk to him. I want to help him. There is a man. It is called the human aspect. Although a man, but he is perfect. He is a perfect man. He is, flawless. Then also avatar can stay in they call the divine level. In the divine level, he can be the antarjami. You see, antarjami in this sense, like a Kalpataru day, he was in the divine level. In the antarjami, he can fulfill the wishes of his devotees. Though the devotees need my help, so I want to help them, give them, called the darshana, Bhagavad darshana, you see, the divine level. And when Swami Vivekananda attained Nirvikal Samadhi, it is Sri Ramakrishna manifested in the called the Nirguna aspect. Same. So they are Brahman or Atman. That is avatar. Is that state of consciousness where there is no duality. So it is through the grace of the avatar or the Swamiji attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You see. And Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a state of consciousness. Buddha, when Buddha says, are you a man? No. Are you a god? No. I am awakened. When Buddha said, it is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Yes. That in that state, Buddha is then becomes that state. The state of consciousness where there is no duality, where Atman and Brahman are identical. So avatar as a guru, it is the human level. He is the perfect ideal for man. But avatar can be also antarjami. He fulfills the cherished desire of the heart. He can appear before the devotee as his chosen ideal. He can appear as Rama or Krishna or Mother Kali. Mother Kali, he appears as Mother Kali, then avatar is called the one with Shaguna Brahman. But when the devotee reaches Nirvikalpa Samadhi, again some avatar, the avatar manifests in that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where there is no duality. Then avatar is also Nirguna Brahman. Avatar is Nirguna Brahman. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, avatar is Shaguna Brahman. In Savikalpa Samadhi, an avatar is the Guru, Parama Guru, to giver of darshana of God, the vision of God. So avatar is not to be considered to be equal to like an illumined soul. There is a world of difference between illumined soul and an avatar. Illumined soul, usually you can think who has attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you see. But he does not want to come back into this world again. But avatar, he has the power to digest it. So although he has attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but he wants to come back. That means he is ever free. So as many times he comes, he will never be bound. But a jiva, if he attains Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he does not come back. He does not come back because he is not a commissioned officer. Therefore, to become a commission officer, the grace of God is necessary. And so grace of God alone will qualify a person to be an ideal teacher. So in this, that is the reason why when avatar comes, also this called Ishwar Kotis, those who are Nitya Mukta Ishwar Kotis, they will come. But avatar has the power also to make a person qualified to come again and to preach his message. Avatar is not bound by any kind of law of this world, you see. So this, the avatar of Sri Ramakrishna, has come to give power to all religions, you see. Because theological doctrine is not the essence of religion. Realization of God is the essence of religion. So he has, as it were, given force, power, wisdom to the devotees of different faiths, you see, that you should not be satisfied with doctrines, with creeds, with theologies. Your real satisfaction will come only when you have experienced God, you see. So experience of God is emphasized again and again by the great avatars of the world. And this avatar especially has not founded a new religion or a new sect. This avatar has come to reinforce all religions, showing that there is the external side of religion which focuses on theology and doctrines, but the internal side of religion, shell and carnal, the carnal religions, call it Hinduism, call it Buddhism, call it Christianity, call it Judaism, this essential core of every religion has one solid emphasis, that how man who has spiritual awakening will be able to move and struggle onward and forward until the goal of realization of God becomes a fact in his life. That is what you find Jam labdha Bhagavad Gita, Jam labdha chaparam labham mannate nadikam tata jasmin sthita na dukkhena gurunapi vichallate. Jam labdha. Jam means by knowing whom. No other gain is to be achieved. That means the highest, the pearl of great price. The highest achievement of man is realization of God. So when one realizes God, then this kind of discussion whether God is Shaguna and Nirguna, all these things are will be of no importance. You see, if you, as the saying goes, the cake will taste sweet, either straight way or a little crooked way. Any way you taste the cake, it will taste sweet. Similarly, any way you realize God, he will be always give you tremendous delight, tremendous strength, and tremendous hope. You see, so this is realization of God. Realization of God is the purpose of life. And when one realizes God, you see, everything in this world that man experience will be insignificant. That is why called Jasmin Sthita Nadukkhena Gurunapi. And he will not be assailed by any kind of affliction, you see, because his heart will be filled with satisfaction, which is not produced by anything in the world, which is the gift of God, or which is perennial and not temporal, you see. So that is what Bhagavad Gita, jam labdha chaparam labham unnati nadhikam tata. Just means the dukkhina guruna api vichallate. Even there are difficulties, problems come, but he will not be at all afflicted. Because like Swami Vivekananda, he will say, I have touched the feet of God, I am immortal. And I will, fear will disappear, doubt will disappear. And mind will be always bright, cheerful, and endowed with hope, courage, and unending bliss. So that's all for the present. Now, before I say the concluding prayer, let me make some announcements. Tomorrow, there will be the Bhagavad Gita class at 7:30 p.m. Gita. And also Anturjaga, women's Anturjaga will start tomorrow. Then Saturday, we'll have to go to the retreat. August 15, no, it will be August 22nd. August 22nd. We'll have to go to the retreat. American Indian Shrine Anniversary. We'll keep it, although we wanted to invite Brave Buffalo, but he has passed away. But we will keep our program. So program is Harmony of Religions. Harmony of Religions. American Shrine Indian Anniversary. Women's Antaryoga. 12:30 talk and 1:40 p.m. potluck. Then on Sunday, August 23rd, I will speak on the subject called Immortal Light. Light that does not fade away. Light is the symbol of consciousness. When the immortal light is used in a metaphorical way, it is immortal life, or immortal consciousness, or immortal bliss, Satchidananda. Such a God is the definition of God is this. It is immortal life, immortal knowledge, and immortal bliss. But the important thing is light, because light is the symbol of consciousness. The consciousness the consciousness that never fails, consciousness never fades, consciousness that never changes. You see, it is that idea. You see, the consciousness which remains the same at all times, under all substances, and all called the trammels and tribulations of life. You see. So that an illumined soul realizes that immortal light as the life of his life, as the soul of his soul, as the very essence of his being. See, immortal light, you see, immortal light. That will be the subject on Sunday. So you are all welcome. Your friends are also welcome. Let me now conclude with a prayer. Bhadram karnevi sinuama deva, Bhadram pushyamakṣabir jajatra, Sthirairam vaitushtu vangshastanuvi, Vasema deva hitam jadayu, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we hear through our ears what is good and spiritual. May we see through eyes what is noble and uplifting. May we go beyond darkness and illusion and realize the truth in this life. May the Almighty Lord protect us, may support us, may we grow in strength together. May what you have studied now be a source of strength, courage and conviction unto us. May love and understanding grow in our hearts. Om, peace, peace, peace. Peace be unto us, peace be unto all mankind. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Tat Sat. Take lunch at 12 o'clock, yes, and then go for a walk.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that will be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, take lunch at 12, and then take some tea or something. Yeah, something. Yeah. Or you can take 2 lunches. yeah.
It's hard to meditate then.
Yeah,
It's hard to meditate.
that you see, Priscilla, Priscilla that day, so I said you should not take lunch. Priscilla will give lunch.
Yes.
But Sandy forgot. Yeah.
No, it was good. It was
So okay then, you take lunch at 12.
Okay.
Tuesday, you take lunch and then go with her. Huh?
Okay.
And then she may give you something and go for a walk.
Okay.
She mentioned the walk, you want to go for a walk.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Mrs. Roy, Partner Roy is calling from Seattle.
Yeah, okay. That's I'm coming. Yesterday they said they would come, let's just see. Yeah. Then I will tell definitely. As soon as I talk. Yeah, talk to her.
Okay.
Tom will come only after 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So to 12 o'clock I have asked them to come. Yeah. So 12 o'clock that will be. Yeah.
They'll be for lunch.
Lunch. Yeah, then afterwards come for worship at 12:45. Yeah, they will be there for some time and then go. They will not stay overnight, you see. The husband, Partho, will come, then Chanda will come, then another boy, another little girl. So that is the plan. Yeah. David, what is in your mind?
Swami?
And if I finish, then you said, no, just a business. You said about Kathy Pollock?
Yes, well maybe she needs to fix something on the house and we need to do some repair. I would like to.
Huh?
I would like to see the house. So she could pick me up and she called you several times.
When do you want to go?
Tomorrow, would it be possible? It's only time she can, at 3 o'clock, around 3 o'clock.
Three, yeah. So
After worship.
After worship.
Yeah.
Then why 3 o'clock? Why do you? I now ask her to come at 2:30.
She works until 2.
Huh?
She works until 2 o'clock.
But 2 o'clock?
Yes. So
Yeah.
she can come after 2.
You come after
Because
2.
she's working.
Yeah. So ask her to come.
Yes.
Ask her to come as soon as the work is over.
Okay.
Yeah, and take you.
Okay.
Because you have lunch at 12,
Okay.
and then you can go. I can give some prasad. So that. Yeah. Then what is your?
Swami, the guru is the avatar is a symbol of the Ishta.
No, he is a symbol of Guru as well as Ishta. She is the Guru as well as the Ishta. The Guru, see the Guru and Ishta, there is no difference. Only the personal aspect you can call Ishta, and impersonal aspect is the Guru. And these also, these are not so cut and dried. These things are called, this expression, realization of God is beyond all expression. But we're using expression to give suggestion. What Guru or Ishta, only when one sees God. Then the idea. So when we are talking about things, it is always, remember, it is only suggestion. It is not the real, a real Guru or real Ishta or real God. The real God is only when one experiences in one's own heart, in one's own consciousness, feels it, knows it, and keeps it as a pearl of great price. So Sri Ram Krishna, we see, Sri Ramakrishna is the Guru. Holy Mother used to say, Sri Ramakrishna is Guru, Sri Ramakrishna is Ishta. You see. But when Sri Ramakrishna is the Guru, then you have to think of, although the Tantra Shastra, these words are taken from the Tantra Shastra. The meditation on the Guru is on the called Sahasrara, 1,000-petal lotus in the head. That is means Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when one realizes the Atman and Brahman are identical. That is a state of consciousness where there is no duality, difference between man and God. So that state of consciousness is called he has realized the Guru, or he has realized the Advaita, you see, Advaita, non-dual experience. But Ishta, the Guru, is the gift of the Vedanta Shastra. Vedanta Shastra, special gift is Guru, you see. The Ishta idea is the gift of the Tantra Shastra. The Tantra, when they use the word Ishta, it is a personal God, you see. We have to worship, we have to love, we have to appeal for His grace, you see, the Ishta. So Ishta, Dhyana is in the called the heart center. If anybody wants to make it Ishta, he should in the heart, Hridaya, Kamala, the lotus of the heart, you see. But we find in Tantra Shastra, special gift is Kundalini Jagarana. When they use mother, we use mother in ordinary sense. No. Mother is used in the form of awakening of the power, spiritual energy, spiritual consciousness. So when Kundalini is awakened, then first is Ishta Darshana, that in the heart, you see, in the heart. Then afterwards, see, they call throat center, you see, Vishuddha, then the Agya between the eyebrows. Then comes called the Sahasrara, 1,000-petal lotus in the head, you see. So that is the 1,000-petal lotus of the head when you are meditates on the Guru and realizes called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, then the Atman and Brahman are identical, you see. So there you find the Lalita Shastra who says, Brahma Atma Oikka Swarupini, although using Divine Mother. But is using that you are a state of consciousness where there is no duality, you see. So Brahma and Atma Oikka, no difference between the individual soul and the universal soul. So that the state of distinctive experience that you call the Guru. You have that, it is the Guru. Therefore Guru's meditation is Sahasrara, and that knowledge will be not the Dvaita Jnana but Advaita Jnana, not the knowledge of I belong to God, no, I and my God are one, you see. But Ishta is the chosen ideal, you see. Then the personal aspect of God. Personal aspect of God also, He is the giver of grace. It is only this, that ultimate realization is possible only through the grace of God. The grace of God also. The two contradictory things are blended here. Ishta is also Mahashakti. You see, all this Ishta is connected with Shakti, Chit Shakti, so Brahma Shakti. Also grace, Karuna. It is the embodiment of grace or compassion. You see. So this is the Sri Ramakrishna is the Ishta. That means we need his grace. And Sri Ramakrishna is the Guru. That through his grace we realize that he is the Para Brahma. He is the Nirguna Brahma. He is not simply the personal God. Sri Ramakrishna, when he realizes Sri Ramakrishna as the Ishta, then the personal. But Sri Ramakrishna also Nirguna Brahman. So that is the reason why Sri Ramakrishna said, don't finitize the infinite consciousness. Infinite consciousness. You see. So Sri Ramakrishna is a symbol of different types of experiences which are valid and authentic. You see. And all these experiences possible through accepting Sri Ramakrishna as an avatar. He is the Ishta, he is the Guru, he is the Antarjami, he is also Brahma Jnana Pradata, the giver of Brahma Jnana. By a single touch he can give Brahma Jnana. The avatar has that power. So this avatar, the first one has to think of an avatar. Avatar means he is Shaguna Brahman, he is also Nirguna Brahman. And not only Shaguna Nirguna, but he is also Deva Manava. That means he has come as a historical person. You see, that's just as a man, you see, whom we can love, we can serve, we can enter into sweet relationship with him, you see. So the avatar concept of avatar, we see, you have to understand this avatar. Avatar, you see, the infinite being accepting human form out of compassion. And the purpose of an avatar is to give liberation, you see. By thinking of him, by meditating on him, and through his grace, if he showers his grace on a devotee, he will be able to realize the goal of life, you see. So avatar, therefore Swamiji's Nirodhana Samahita Mana Nirakita Avakripai. Sri Ramakrishna, through your grace, I have been able to attain this Samahita Mana. My mind transcended to the highest state of realization. Avakripai, this grace, grace of it is through his grace, through his Ramakrishna's grace, that's how mind became calm, and also the consciousness was lifted up to the highest plane, to the transcendental plane, to the plane where one realizes called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you see. Yeah.
When Mathuranath was dying, Sri Ramakrishna would not come to him in person, and yet he came to him afterwards, according to the great to Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. Why is it that Sri Ramakrishna would not come in person? Is there any explanation or significance?
No, that is that you see, if one person, that is this kind of, it is people think that coming and seeing with these eyes, that's very important. But avatar thinks that you see, inner experience is more important than the outer experience through our senses. There he did come for various reasons. That's very difficult to say for whatever with reasons. It's not he was in Dakshineshwar here. If he goes there, coming there, how much time? For practical purposes. You see, so devotees will come to him. And he has not come just for Mathura or for one person. He has come for other persons too. So there are various reasons. So an avatar does not do. And again, avatars coming in a spiritual way is more important than even people go there and see him and then afterwards remain the same. So why didn't it come? Because he did not want to leave Dakshineshwar. And on the other hand, in a spiritual way, he will do good to him, to Mathur. But even he wanted to do good, but Mathur was not ready. You see, some people asked that probably he will be illumined. That means he has no worldly desire. But no, Sri Ramakrishna says, Sri Ramakrishna alone can say. Others cannot say that. What is your thought? He has desire. There is desire. If there is desire, then he said, you will be born as a king. Yeah. And then afterwards he say, even when you become a king, it does not give you satisfaction. You see. You may be king or this and that, it will not give satisfaction. So desirelessness is very important. You have no desire. But desirelessness comes only when your desires are fulfilled. And then you have to create one desire, predominant desire, that I want to realize you, Lord. I do not want your oishadya, your power. You see, any desire comes, it is also this desire for things and persons of the world. But when desires for things and persons disappear, you see, a desireless mind is desireless, you see, when he wants to desire the infinite Lord. You see. So that is the grace of an avatar. When the avatar's grace comes, all desires go away. One desire comes, I want you. I want to love you, I want to serve you, I want to be with you always. Although physically it is not possible, you see, physically one has to be there. Yeah. But this is consciousness of closeness with God is in meditation, you see. That is the reason great souls, you see, always do not follow our human method. Your human method means you go and see and talk and all that. They do in a subtle way. The same thing happened with Swami Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna wanted to see Holy Mother, but Holy Mother did not come. But he came in a spiritual way. In meditation, her mother appeared before. And Swami Ramakrishna, see, Pahalo Dukkharoja, the night of sorrow has come to an end. The Divine Mother has come. She has given me fearlessness. She has given me assurance. She has given me her blessing. And the blessing of the Mother is immortality. She has gives me immortality. We will be always with Sri Ramakrishna. We will go to Sri Ramakrishna Loka and be with him. And when he comes, he will come with him. So they see these things. In avatar, you see, avatar not go to Mathur Babu. Mathur Babu's place is Jan Bazar, Calcutta. You see, you have to spend the whole day there. And then how will he return then? How will he return? Then again, avatar, physical presence, you see, physical presence, go there, then there should be taken some attendant. Attendant, you have to take some attendant. And then so again avatar, he may go into samadhi and all that. So some attendant is necessary for various reasons, you see. Various reasons he didn't go.
Swami?
Yeah.
Is there any difference between Brahmaloka and Ramakrishna Loka? Is that also a state of consciousness?
The Ramakrishna Loka is used in the sense those who are liberated. Brahma Loka is Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti, this is something which is intellectually cannot be explained. In Brahma Loka, which is Shankara speaks about it, Anabhriti Shabdat, they are Brahma Loka of the realm of personal God. And they have not attained called Nirvana Mukti. That means they have not attained called Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
They're still in the
They have to again. But Ramakrishna Loka, if you take for example Swamiji is in Ramakrishna Loka, all that's a Ramakrishna. There they have attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. After attaining Nirvikalpa Samadhi, out of love, I want to be with you. I do not want to finish the game, the play. Whenever you will come, I will go with you. So that is, but Brahma Loka, there means those people, those devotees, Shankara is talking about, that they have attained only Shabikalpa Samadhi. And they think and also Shabikalpa Samadhi, there is a guru necessary who will teach them how to attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You see. So it's not simply desire, I want Nirvikalpa. No, there should be guru who will train them how to attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But these direct disciples, they had Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Shabikalpa Nirvikalpa Samadhi. They are called Lila Parshada, Lila Sahaja. They are not like ordinary souls. So some are even called Ishwar Kotis, like Brahmananda, Swamiji, and all that. Swamiji, Thakur's vision of Swamiji, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. 7 rishis, immersed in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, beyond the realm of personal God. Then the avatar became there. After the rishis, 6 rishis did not care, only 7th rishi. So there, you see. So here this is a kind of a scriptural way, but avatar has his own way. So Ramakrishna Loka is something that they are very special. They are special. They are all playmates of the Lord. They after attaining Nibbana, after attaining Nirvikalpa Samadhi, they voluntarily they accept that I will be yourself. Will be your followers.
Those who would come back.
They come back. But those who there, they do not want to come back. Let the people, this is not my business, it's God's business. So I don't want to bother. But here, you see, we are the playmates of the Divine Master. When he comes and he said, you come. All right, we go. So it is after attaining Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this is a stage. This is a stage. This is a stage only not. If you said, I want to be, I want to serve you, Lord. He says, no, you are not needed. It is the choice of the avatar. The choice of the avatar. The avatar must choose. But they have no desire, desireless. They don't want anything. All through their life, they live a very pure life. Only God. To serve God in thought, word and deed, that is the only thing that they cherish in the mind. And coming and going does not make any difference. They are always in their mind. This God dwells always in the mind. Sometimes they merge, sometimes they become instruments. Instruments in the Lord, in the hand of the Lord. You see, that is called Leela. Leela is not for ordinary person. It is only those who are associates of the avatar. You can be called Leela. You see, Leela. So Sri Ramakrishna, this Ramakrishna Loka, Holy Mother also said, you see, Holy Mother used to say, the last moment, you think of, even he did not say think, Master said, Sri Ramakrishna will come. Sri Ramakrishna, I have initiated, those who have initiated, Sri Ramakrishna will come with the last moment. But if you want Shaddhamukti, immediately called knowledge of being liberated, then Bhasanashkaya. Otherwise, Shesh Muhurte, Mother used to say, at the last moment Thakur will come, I will come, you see, I will come, you see. But naturally this condition comes, one has to think, one has to think, one has to think, you see. This thought then is not just the thought. Sometimes thought comes and goes. Thought becomes very strong, and that thought will bring the vision. the vision of God. The thought is the vision, you see. Even now, Sri Ramakrishna can come. One can experience Sri Ramakrishna, but he has to make the mind very subtle, very subtle. But the last moment thought is very powerful. The thought, the moment thought, it strikes as it were, in the plane of the universal mind, you see. As it God dwells in that universal plane, universal plane of consciousness. Yeah. So this last thought goes straight to the universal mind. And God as universal mind is in the form of an avatar. He appears. For the Christian, if they think he will come in the form of Christ, yeah. For those who are devotees of Ramakrishna, they will think of Ramakrishna. They have loved Ramakrishna, they have served Ramakrishna, they have prayed to Ramakrishna. So he will come in the form of Ramakrishna. You see. Therefore, Ishto will be different. You cannot say there will be only one Ishto. Ishto means Ishto has a form. You see. Forms will be different. But the essence is the same. For the Christian devotee, if God takes the form of Christ, and for the devotees of Ramakrishna, if God takes the form of Ramakrishna, in essence there is no difference. It is marble, just like a marble shape. Marble has no form. But when a sculpture gives a form, then other forms are excluded, just one form. So similarly, the devotee has Ishta. He meditates. Meditate means he is creating a form. It is a form. And the form becomes real, then the presence. It is the presence. So you see, so Ishta is the chosen ideal from the marble, as the many forms can be there. You can image of Christ, image of Ramakrishna, image of, say, Krishna and all that. So the forms will be different.